back to Collaboratory, the show where Mike Morris improvises an animatic with a little help from our audience, and we learned about the craft of storyboarding along the way. This is our first two-part episode. Last episode, we improvised the start of a storyboard with the help from our audience. Mike, do we want to go through what we had to begin with last week?
Absolutely. Let's do it. Well, let's I'm going to call attention to what's on the screen right now. I've just been kind of doing some rough character designs. We don't really get the luxury as much of being able to flesh out some of these characters beforehand because we come up with them on the fly. But here we go. I'm going to go to my camera view because the camera view is awesome. Shift M to make it bigger. So we have a coral reef. Slight upshot, not too bad, but it's establishing where we are. Some bubbles coming out. And then we see cut into somebody emerging from the coral. And we see a Mantis Shrimp who is sweeping and, talking about how great his home is. Then he looks up to see a big panda in a bucket, like a thrown together deep sea diving suit, who just sort of looks at him and drops his bags and says, "Welcome to my home. What can I do for you?" And he says, "How about you give me back my home?" And that's where we left off.
All right. So we have two characters, a mantis shrimp and a raccoon, who have an ownership dispute over a coral reef. Mike, to resolve this conflict, what kinds of things are we looking for from the audience?
Well, what we're looking for really is a good resolution to the story. How can we take this setup and pay it off in an interesting way? Because as we know, storytelling is often about a good setup and a good payoff. Right now, we've done the setup, and now we have to resolve this conflict that we've made.
And if you're watching this live on Twitch or YouTube, please enter your suggestions in the chat. Whatever you type just might show up on screen. And while we wait for suggestions to come in, Mike, what typically drives conflict in the plot of the animated series that you tend to work on?
Well, I've worked on a lot of different shows. Most of my time has been in prime time, so often the conflict varies from week to week. But interpersonal conflict is always an interesting thing to watch. I think it's why so many of us get hooked on reality television for the interpersonal conflict. But there's sort of three main categories that you can break things down into. It's man versus nature, man versus man, or man versus technology. And those are kind of three of the main things that we would, discuss when we're talking about story.
Yeah. Is it also fair to say, too, that conflict can arise from a character wanting something and not being able to get what they want?
Absolutely. Good characters have clear motivations, right? So, you can tell that in the case of the diabolical villain who wants to control the world, but what he really wants to do is control everyone else, right? Because of some deep-seated need to feel accepted or loved or something like that. But you have to have those clear motivations to characters. A hero wants to go out and save his, everybody else from the blight of dragons on the land, because when he was a kid, a dragon came in and just totally wiped out his village. Or even something as simple as, I want an ice cream sandwich, but it is almost midnight and everywhere is closing. How do I get my ice cream sandwich? So conflict
that is a question we're all asking.
All kinds of different varieties. But in the meantime, while we're waiting for some good suggestions, we were kind of working out a few of the character designs here for our little trash panda who walks around in a can, and trying to get some good character out of these designs. And so far for our panda, or not trash panda, our raccoon, this is sort of what we've come up with. And I'm going to give him an orange bucket. And we'll just draw that bucket right over the design here just to get a good feeling. And I'm going to turn off the draw behind so we can see that a bit better. And using our color select tool, cut and paste. Have it just sort of bend that bucket a little bit. So it's slightly leaning forward at the top.
I really like the lean forward too. It is very visually amusing.
Well, I mean, what I'm really trying to get out of this particular character is the fact that he built this outfit himself, right? And he built it out of whatever garbage that he could find. You know, and it goes back to the whole Trash Panda thing.
So for those just joining us, we are looking for a way to resolve a conflict between two characters. There was a raccoon and a mantis shrimp who both have an owner dispute over a under beachfront property, I'm guessing. So how do we want to have them resolve that? While we wait for suggestions to come in, Mike, do you want to talk about some of the motivations the different characters have for this story?
Well, for this story, it's a question of housing and real estate. I mean, right now, I live in Southern California, and we're actually going through that whole problem ourselves because real estate is ridiculously expensive here. And so I can understand how two people who think they own the same piece of property are having a dispute about who should live there or who has the right to live there, because both are claiming ownership. This guy may have gone out for a little bit and has come back to find somebody who's in his home. And this person thinks, and the Mantis Shrimp just thought he found a good place to live. So neither of them wants to give it up.
Okay, we've got one suggestion that I think would be interesting. All right, here we go. The raccoon went away to work, then found out his mom had rented his room out to a lodger. They end up being forced to share the room.
Okay. That would sort of introduce a third character. Well, I guess it doesn't necessarily have to. But what do you think about that, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, we could have the shrimp point off screen, have somebody having a shouted conversation from inside the coral reef. So I guess that is one approach. My other suggestion maybe is a dance-off.
A dance-off? Like who gets to keep the coral is the better dancer?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
The mantis
There's
shrimp,
only one way we settle things underwater, and that is with the dance-off.
I'd imagine the Mantis Shrimp would want to fight for it because he does have these giant boxing glove hands. But the panda's armored up. I don't know how this guy would overcome such armor.
Oh, here's another suggestion. I think this does also technically introduce a third character. How about rock, paper, scissors, and then the shrimp pulls a swordfish? So this is a very cartoony answer to the problem, and I think you could sort of have like a hammer space sort of moment where the shrimp reaches behind his back and there's just a whole swordfish.
He just like pokes him and pops his thing, sends him packing.
That's so mean.
You just watch him rocket to the top.
That is a very cartoony way of doing it.
Yeah, I like it.
Comes from Trevor Connolly. I like that one a lot.
Yeah, I like it. Let's do it. All right, cool. So, going back to our storyboard here and less about the character design, we are going to get our brush here, black, and start drawing again. All right, put some tubes up in the top here so we can see that he's got to breathe. And I think we're going to give him like a gesture so he's pointing toward himself. First of all, you can get out of my home. Yeah. Very much laying claim to this place. So in the biz, we call this a thumb jerk.
that motion,
Mm-hmm.
or the character who has the thumb. He's like being a thumb jerk.
No, just the motion is called a thumb jerk. Just in case you're wondering.
I was wondering, and I appreciate that bit of lingo. It's a rich lexicon.
Yeah, it's definitely. If we really wanted to get fancy, we would put in a little overshoot and settle like this, just to give it a little bit of extra life and an animatic. So we'd see a little bit of settle. Fists. More. Well, this is my home. And delete our colors that we don't need anymore. Give it a little bit of extra background here.
Now, is one of the raccoon's arms ridged like a vacuum cleaner tube and one of them more noodly?
Yeah, I think it's like the difference between like an air hose duct that you had put on your dryer. And the other one
more
is
of
just
a pool noodle hose type thing.
Yeah, more of a garden hose-esque type thing. Because unevenness is a good way to show that it's more of a situation that's thrown together. If you have things that are symmetrical and even, then obviously it's been manufactured or carefully put together. And a good way to show that something is sort of like thrown together or haphazard is to have parts that aren't matching. Okay, so let's have a new panel. And then I think it would be good to have an over-the-shoulder shot, in this case, under the armpit. And we'll put him over here. Get some gray. Gray right there. Give this a little bit of a background plane. I'm going to move this a little bit over to the right so we have some screen direction still. Down shot, and then we've got him here. This is my place. You can leave. We can show him because we've shown him a little bit to the right. I want to keep that going on.
Now, do we have to show his arm being down first and then him pointing?
Yeah. I think, we can add that in later. I think it's good when you're storyboarding to sort of get the main bricks in first, and then you can just break it down until you have something that works for an animatic.
Right. Sort of one idea per drawing.
Yeah. Then our friend Shrimp down here.
The difficult thing with making the arms asymmetrical and different is that now we need to remember which one's the right arm, which one's the left arm.
Sure.
Actually, how would you keep track of details like that in production? Would you call it right, left? Would you call it front, back, A, B? What would be the typical terminology?
I'm sure that a design department would have some, terminology that is fairly standard, but we just call it an asymmetrical design for the most part. And just say just watch out for, this hair is on that side and it's part of the character. So make sure you draw it that way. And I think we can get some pretty good mileage out of this little setup. So I'm just going to give it a bit of a tone in the back here. Use that. Just so we can see that there's like an interior. And then another thing that's really fun is this enclosing tool. So I can just sort of go like this and make a shape. And then it just fills it for me. Makes things a whole lot faster. Okay, so here we go. We can take this and let's break it down. I'm going to move this palette up above really quick so I can get better access to those tools. And we're going to start with arm down on him. I'm going to remember to turn those things off once they're on. Have that arm down.
I do really love that vent hose arm thing.
Yeah, they're fun. Like those.
That sort of accordion fold.
Yeah. And I think maybe we should have him, this little shrimp guy, look up a little bit more because he is definitely in a down position, or in a lower position.
Ooh, there is a fun point brought up by one of the viewers who's watching this right now. So Joe Toddy's asking, how long do those crabs live? He could say he's been living there his whole life, even though he's only been there a few weeks.
Yeah, that's funny. I've been living here my whole life, buddy. I don't know what you're talking about.
I inherited this from my grandfather.
Yeah, that's funny. Now get out. Look, pal. That's when we can, start getting him a little bit more forward. But his eyes
can punch the ground a couple times.
I think maybe he could just like pound this broom into the ground, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about, buddy. I don't know what you're screaming about. I don't know what you're screaming about. I've lived here my whole life. Just give him a little bit of a stretch. Get those eyebrows up. And ain't nobody gonna take my home from me. I don't know why they're from New York. I don't, but I just figured that people from New York are good at conflict. At least the people that I know from New York don't necessarily shy away from it as much as people from
California. Now, when you say good at conflict, is this like sort of the Malcolm Gladwell, like put 10,000 hours into it, sort of good at conflict, or?
Well, I think being in a city environment like that, conflict is just a natural part of being with that around that many people. So they tend to be good at sticking up for themselves. So, it's sort of an observation from the outside, but
Yeah. I also think based on the conflict resolution that we've chosen, it does seem like there's a little bit of almost Bugs Bunny energy going into this Mantis Shrimp.
maybe.
And I think maybe that's where some of the voice is coming from too.
Well, he does have he is Bugs Bunny is from Brooklyn originally, I think.
Yeah, there we go. So there's a little bit of like Tex Avery energy.
Yeah. So I think let's cut in on this guy. We're gonna do this. Let's just separate that out, and then we're gonna use our camera to cut in. And I'm gonna get this drawing here of him as sort of more of a baseline. And
okay, David the Gnome is telling us that people in New York City are pretty good at conflict. So there we go. I feel like David the Gnome knows New York.
Okay. Thank you, David the Gnome. Thank you for confirming our wild generalizations. Appreciate that. I mean, how could you live in a city of that many people and not come into conflict so often? He's gonna have a look down moment right here. And put him down like that. So this is the hookup. He's gonna come down. Look, you're obviously bigger than I am. How are we gonna resolve this? I can't punch you out like I would anybody else. Anybody else? And bang, zoom to the moon. But you're huge.
There's only one way to settle this.
And then the raccoon steps on him. Great. I just love how silly some of these things that we get to do on Collaboratory are.
Oh yeah,
It's just delicious bits of comedy here and there.
So it is really hard to have like improv animation, and I feel like this gets us very close to that.
I think so. All right, so got so this is my home, and you're gonna get out of it. Hey, pal, I've lived here my whole life. Now, how are we gonna solve this? You're obviously bigger than me, otherwise I'd bust you one and send you packing. I think also we need.
I just saw a really good suggestion, Mike.
Yeah, what is it?
Okay, Joe Toddy suggests they could keep doing scissors and rock over and over again until time passes and another crab or creature moves in.
And then they both go and kick him out. And they become the odd couple. Eventually, we have a shot of the shrimp on his deathbed, and the raccoon just is beside himself. He can't live under the sea anymore. So the painful memories,
Oh,
the good memories, but the painful loss.
yeah, that's oddly sweet.
We you know, for as much as we delve into more of the comedic, we do love to have our sincere moments here on the Collaboratory.
Yeah. Well, I think that tends to give the funny moments a bit more punch if there is contrast.
It's true. Some of the funniest moments are like when characters are crying. I don't know if that just points to us as being a sadistic society or what, but
Well, there is this sort of line, the maxim that comedy is tragedy happening to somebody else, which is cruel, but um, there's sometimes a little bit of truth to that.
accurate, fairly accurate. So now we're going to get a sense of scale. I think we need to see the sense of scale. Otherwise, it's not going to feel as impactful. Oh, we got to hook up that arm too. His bag. We got this coral. Sorry for the uncouth drawings, folks, but we run out of time so quickly.
Yeah, Mike, how long does it take to storyboard a typical episode of a primetime TV show?
About 4 weeks for an act. I think that's generally accepted.
So this is really fast.
So this is we're really booking it. This is what you would call a vomit pass, because you're just sort of blah, and everything comes out on the page. But if you're good at vomit passes, that's a great thing, because that means that you can generate and iterate fast, which is what you need in storyboards. So fast generation, fast iteration.
It is a very iterative process. Do you find that in a lot of productions, a lot of drawings wind up on the cutting room floor, or is it more you try to make more things work?
It depends on the production. Again, sometimes they try and make things work, but I mean, a lot of the time, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and so it just is. It's going to end up on the floor. There's just no getting around that sometimes.
Yeah. And I think it also might be fair to say that, like, the bigger the budget of the production is, the more revisions there would be at the storyboarding phase, just because there's a lot more writing on it.
I mean, because you can. You have the budget to do so. And so you have more time to nail it down, get it right. I think that's why we see the higher quality of feature animation, because features have much more time, much more resources, and they're generally able to have more pondering time, where you can kind of let an idea sit and percolate for a bit without having to act on it immediately. So a lot of people that come from boards, I've seen some people come from boards on TV and go to features and get kind of, I don't know, almost bored, because they're used to iterating so quickly and going with like the knee-jerk reaction in a lot of ways. that they're like, all right, I'm done. What do I do now? Where's the next sequence? Give it to me, you know? And then they're like, no, man, you got to take it back a little bit. All right, so what's going to stop him from actually engaging and humoring this shrimp? When he could just, like, honestly step on him and be done with it. Does he appeal to his sense of decency and fairness? Does he issue some sort of challenge that goads his ego?
I bet you're afraid to play rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah, well, if you're some sort of chicken. Chicken? My name is Marty McFly, and I hate being called a chicken.
Oh.
Okay, what's a good swindle?
That was Posey, everybody.
Let's see. I think maybe he should just say, "What's to keep me from stepping on you right now?" What's to keep me just from stepping on you and being done with it?
Are we looking for an audience suggestion for why he shouldn't?
Oh, I have an idea, and let's see if this jives with our audience. Is that he sort of uses a distraction and then does the swordfish thing.
We got a question in the audience that might be interesting for you, Mike.
Yeah.
There's someone who's interested in knowing, as someone who is entering the industry, how do you get a storyboard job? And it's a question we've gotten in the past. And I think they're also looking for like advice for what to include in the portfolio.
Well, everybody's journey is different, and it depends on what you're going for. If you're going for features, or if you're going for TV, or doing something on the web. I mean, the biggest thing is just to get your work noticed. Get your work noticed by somebody. Go to animation conventions and things. I know conventions are on the way back, so hopefully that will help people that are just starting out try and find some recruiters and stuff and show them their work and be like, yeah, this stuff's good. Or hey, you might not be ready for this yet. But just keep producing work, like keep showing stuff off. I mean, LinkedIn is a great place that people show off a lot of their work. Of course, Instagram is a place that a lot of people go to look for new talent. Make sure that you're getting good, that you're a good storyteller. You know how to tell a story from beginning, middle to end, and have good character interactions and relationships and conflicts, and know your craft, and the jobs will come.
Yeah, I just also saw a comment in the chat from I'm Tony Teach, who is Tony Ross, a really great harmony instructor. And he's asking, should schools still teach storyboard basics by having students first board on paper?
For storyboards, I would say probably not. I think digital is the way to go for storyboards. Animation, however, I absolutely believe that you should learn how to animate on paper for like hand-drawn animation. I think that is one of the better taskmasters and teachers for hand-drawn traditional cell animation. I think that with storyboards, the format is so wide and loose that digital just makes more sense as opposed to working on paper, because you can get everything on digital that you could on paper. Like, you know, you can get the 3-panel setup and draw on little things. It just doesn't make as much sense to do it on paper and storyboards.
Yeah, and as a Toon Boom rep, I should also point out that you can scan drawn drawings and frames into Harmony and Storyboard Pro.
That you can, sir.
Which is, you know, always helpful and handy.
I think we should cut back to this shot also. Maybe we'll just duplicate this and move it into a new shot here. And we'll just delete this shot. Delete panels. And then let's Ripple delete the space. This is a great new feature, or newer feature, because the timeline is more of an open thing now than it was in previous editions. So that's very, very handy. All right. We need to hook this up right here so the next shot works better.
Hey, Mike, we got a question in the chat. Do you think that remote work will be the norm in storyboarding?
I don't know if it's ever going to be the norm. I think it will be more widely accepted now, for sure, because I think the pandemic has really opened up a lot of that sort of, you know, stigma of working from home as being inefficient. I think we're moving more toward a was he there at his desk, or was she there at her desk, as opposed to what got done. You know, I think that's going to be the new metric. I think there's security issues, you know, especially if you don't have something that's like from the studio that you're working on your home computer or something like that. There could be sensitive material that has more potential to be leaked if it's not secured properly. And I think
is your computer screen near a window?
Well, I mean, you know, if you're working on something that's a high-profile project, right, that everybody wants to get a look at, you know, that could be the target of hackers that are, you know, trying to get a scoop on something for some unscrupulous journalist. You know, oh, we've got a leak on the new, you know, Marvel property or something like that. And I think that some studios aren't going to be willing to take a risk on that security problem. But I think for something that's, I think that it's going to be more of a possibility going forward. I'll say that. More of a possibility than it ever was previously. I mean, it was pretty much, if you wanted to work for a major studio, you move to Burbank and make a go of it. But I think that is still going to be a thing, but not nearly as bad. I think more freelancers are going to be able to come into the fold, especially if the Animation Guild does go nationwide. We'll see. I
think there are also benefits like early career, having people start to recognize your face and know who you are can be very valuable.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I mean, face recognition is huge. You know, if especially there's a thing to be said for the camaraderie of being in a story room on a story team and, you know, working together and coming up with ideas together, kind of like what we're doing here on the Collaboratory, only on a much more professional scale. you know? I think all of you out there are our unofficial story team, because you're pitching ideas. You're constantly pitching ideas, and that's one of the things that you do in it. Yeah, that's one of the things you do on a story team. And I think everybody brings a certain experience to the table that somebody else doesn't have, and those are all very valuable. You know, everybody's point of view has that little bit of difference that can bring that unexpected part to a story, that little twist that makes it funny. You know, and obviously there are people that are just darn funny to hang around with. You know, I've known some people that their drawings aren't necessarily the best drawings, but man, are they funny. And funny always wins. It really does.
If you're on a comedy production.
Yeah, if you're on a comedy production, if you're on a drama and things get funny, then
sometimes that's good too. But
I think that guy might have something to say about this. And then I think we can cut to a shot. There's a big cut there. You know what we can do is take this shot, and we will copy the background from this and sort of make it a shot of a similar nature. Put that there, and then move the camera up. So we'll put him here in his position, and then we'll just move our camera. That's one of the things that I really love about, another one of the things I really love about the Toon Boom stuff is that the camera is free. You don't have to worry about whether or not, you know, the camera is placed well enough at first, because you can move it. And that's awesome.
So much about the composition is like how you frame things, so that instantly can make a huge difference.
Absolutely. It instantly can make a gigantic difference, and also being able to fine-tune something after the fact is huge. You know, without having to go through like a ton of like extra work that you wouldn't necessarily have to do in Storyboard Pro.
The one thing you do miss, though, is having like wild diagrams of banana pans.
You can still do it. You can absolutely still do it. Though it is a little bit more tricky. That's like an export and PDF settings thing that you really have to nail down if you truly want to do that kind of a thing. But it's possible. I've done it. And it was kind of like, well, let's see this army of yours or whatever. More along the lines of, oh, I know nothing's behind me, so I'm going to turn around because I don't even care. I'm going to call your bluff, kind of thing.
Speaking of behind me, my cat is just out of frame and is just really wants attention right now.
Okay, duly noted.
Just gonna scoop her.
I hope the chat is very affectionate toward your cat.
Oh, all right.
Come on, You know, you and what little army that's obviously behind me. Okay. And that's when he'll reach back. And this is where we're going to get more cartoony. Working in primetime, I don't often get the chance to do a lot of really cartoony stuff. So it's always fun when you do get the chance.
I mean, I feel like a lot of it is what makes comedy and animation really fun too.
Oh, absolutely. I'm being able to do things. I mean, the show that I'm working on right now, I feel like it started out in a much more live action-y type of way, but as time has gone on, the executive producers have really sort of leaned into the animation aspect of it, and it's really gelling into something that's really fun. Oh, I'm so scared of your secret army. And then let's go back to this shot. I'm going to duplicate that, and we're going to move it over here. Okay, and then we'll just ripple delete the space. Do this, and we'll turn him around. Actually, you know what? We're going to do this. Turn that into another color. All right over the top of that. Okay, we're getting into fast drawings again, folks. Because we just don't have a lot of time. We're trying to make as much story as we possibly can. So let's have him. I think one thing we should. I think we're going to just cheat this here a little bit and have him look like he's. No, we can't cheat it. We won't cheat it. We'll just turn him around and have like his back sort of showing. And the broom right here. See him like this, and he's reaching off. A little smaller than this.
I also really like the long noodle arm reach.
Yeah. And then we have obviously a more triumphant looking pose. I think we're going to need to widen out for this to make it really land. So I'm going to do this. And so we get the full gist of this marlin being brought forward. Mommy's over
Maybe
here,
a
wise
little
guy.
quick gleam.
What?
Maybe just a quick gleam on the swordfish point.
Sure. Then get rid of those extra keyframes. And I think we can have just one of those eye shifts back. It's like, Army's right here, wise guy. I think this can be a new shot. Almost like I think what might be kind of funny is like a point of view.
from the swordfish.
Yeah. So we have like the bucket guy or our bucket Trash Panda.
I do like the idea. We've just introduced a new character, and immediately we're going to his point of view. I think it's a very funny touch.
And I feel bad now because we were like shutting down people with like, oh, hey, let's introduce another character. We're like, no.
I mean, we did it. We did it. It works.
Well, he's not so much a character as he is a prop.
A prop, yeah. But the fact that we are going into his point of view does suggest an interior space.
Ooh. You know, I think one of those like, yeah.
So what's going to be the resolution? Just going to be like bubbles left behind.
I think he's just gonna pop him, and then the guy's gonna go back inside and be like, well, you know, whatever. He's not gonna care. Maybe he'll chalk up another somebody on his list, and he's really like some sort of psychopath. I don't know. I think he'll just call it a day and be like, well, that was annoying. I mean, if we had time, we would do like the no, and then pop, you know. Let's do one without the glint, one with the glint. Then we'll double this panel and put the glint in the middle. So, bing. And then let's go back to this. We'll duplicate this because we're just going to cut back to the previous shot. Okay. And I think this, shrimp would be rather proud of himself at the moment. And just give him like a little poke. Boop. Maybe he should say something like later. Later, cousin. get his stuff out of the
I
way.
think the
The
swordfish
arms.
being very static too is also very funny.
Another thing in boards, you always want to try and like make sure that the faces of your characters are clear unless they're meant to be obscured. So I've seen a lot of people like board with blocking the face a lot, and it gets really annoying to have to constantly correct that. Like, no, you want to see those characters acting. You don't want to watch them acting from the back of their head unless the person that they're looking at, you need to see that reaction. Boop. And then I think he should just go back to this. So we'll just copy that to the end here. And just get rid of this extra mouth opening. And then copy that. And that would be just a really small part of the animatic. If I'm going to select multiple things, I should push shift instead of caps lock. Oops. I think maybe bubble, and then
like a jet.
Yeah. My hat's off to special effects animators. Those people are bonkers crazy to me because they're so good at keeping track of like little particles and having them all move in good ways. And that makes sense and everything. I'm just like I get blown away by good visual effects or special effects, hand-drawn animation.
Yeah, it's also really funny too because there's some people who like work in 2D effects who, for like really organic shapes, just sort of go with their gut and like look at water a lot and just try to get like a feel for it. And then there are people who try to math it out, and it's interesting because like there are ways to make both approaches work.
Yeah, absolutely, and both approaches can work really well, and especially given different situations and given the needs of the production and stuff. It's the same thing with going animating pose to pose versus animating like straight ahead. Each of them has their place. Each of them has their strength. Pose to pose, you get reliability, and in straight ahead you get spontaneity. Let's see. I have an idea. What if the shrimp just goes home and gets eaten? It's like, well, took care of that guy, and then some of like an eel comes out and just snaps him up. Hey, nice place you got here.
I think that's really funny. I also think that we are just a little bit over time right now.
Okay, we're a little bit over time.
I'm happy with this being the resolution. Do you want to do a quick run through of what we have?
Yes. Let me just do one little thing. I'm just going to cap this off just really quick. And let's just do a small shot. Sorry, Mr. Schneer. I'm sorry. I was just trying to make it funny. And
we're just trying to be considerate every time.
That's all right. So he's just gonna chuck this dude over. I have to see it resolved. This is our first resolution show, and I don't feel like it's resolved.
But wouldn't it be really on brand if we had a show where we tried to resolve a thing and then didn't finish that one too?
And then ran out of time. I mean, I guess it kind of would be.
I mean, I feel like the lesson here is that like storyboarding does take a lot of time.
Yes. So he's just going to chuck that thing and then go home. I'm just going to grab this pose. And let's just do like that. And then copy. It takes care of that guy. And then some kind of, you know, and it would be better to have like a longer pan to have him sort of walk a tick before he does that. So you have him like sort of, walk back. That was fun. And then, you know, chomp. That's terrible looking. Looks like a turtle no more.
I guess since the body's out of sight, that would make it a little bit ambiguous.
Yeah, you have to put like a fin on him or something like that. And then maybe just a little something like this. What are you gonna do? Tom. And then just a little, hey, nice place you got here. I think that resolves it nicely. Okay, let's go back to the very, very beginning. We're a little bit over time, folks, but hopefully it'll be worth it. Okay. And should any of you ever feel like fleshing out some of our character designs, we would love to see the artwork that you guys do. All right, so here we go. Let's go to our camera view where we see things clearly. Turn off our light here. All right, we're starting in exterior, some coral reef in a small dwelling therein. Slide up shot. Some bubbles coming up. And we see a mantis shrimp coming out, and he is sweeping his front walk. And then, we have a very surprised Trash Panda in a bucket underwater diving suit. And he just drops his bags in surprise. Hi, what brings you to my home today? Your home? This is my home. And you should kindly leave. Hey, buddy, I've lived here my entire life. Ain't nobody kicking me out of it. How are we gonna resolve this, you big lug? What's to stop me from just stepping on you right now and being done with it? I tell you what, probably those people right behind you, or probably that right behind you. Yeah, there's something right behind me. And then he pulls the swordfish out and sees the gleam on the edge of the on the tip of the sword. And then we have bad camera. So here's how we're going to resolve that. I'm going to come over here. We're going to copy this keyframe right here. Actually, we're going to copy the larger keyframe here. Then we are going to paste it right here. Paste. Try that again. Paste. There we go. And then poke. And then the bubbles settle. And then ideally, this would be a longer pan. And they're like, it takes care of that jerk. Now to go home and, hey, nice place you got here, fella. And that is the end of our story.
All right. Mike,
Yay.
Thank you for joining us once again for Collaboratory. Do you have any projects or topics that you'd like to draw our attention to?
Again, hashtag Storycraft Unite. We're still working on that new deal for animation, and we're trying to make sure that you've seen the hard work that goes into making storyboards and animatics, and there's a lot of people that work a lot of long hours to bring us the entertainment that we all love. And one of the things that was brought up today was that animation kept Hollywood going during the pandemic. When all the productions were shutting down, everybody shut down, animation was still going. We just started working from home and keeping media and entertainment alive. In a way, they owe us. And I think it would be in their best interest to work with us on a fair and equitable deal for all of the hard work that we put in and all of the saving of their bacon that we've done.
Yeah, I think it's really important to honor all of the work that goes into animated series, from pre-production to production, all the way to post-production. So I want to thank everybody. Yeah.
It's a complicated thing, and I hope it resolves very amicably without striking. But any show of support any of you can all do. Reposting, hashtag Storycraft Unite, reposting anything that you see from, the tag 839 would be very appreciative.
Yeah, and everything posted on the Storycraft Unite hashtag, especially on Twitter and Instagram. There are a lot of really great posts from artists behind pretty much any show you can think of, and it's worth reading their experiences, because a lot of people don't know about the work that goes into these shows. So thank you to everybody who joined us for Collaboratory. If you'd like to try your hand at storyboarding, you can download a 21-day trial of Storyboard Pro from our website at toonboom.com. And if you're interested in cutout animation, don't miss our live stream this Thursday, March 24th. We'll be interviewing Camilla Barbazon-Crezin about a Viking pirate rig that you really would like to see, because it's just wild design and really well put together. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and be sure to tune in next time.
All right, we'll see you guys.